Nintendo stuff extra.
Separated by cosmic cabinets, Brandon and Logan are talking about Super Mario Maker 2. Nintendo just had their Nintendo Direct this evening. 15 minutes, well, a little more than 15 minutes of lots of Super Mario Maker 2 goodness. They told us a whole lot more than I ever expected, Logan.
Yeah, it seems like from Mario Maker to Super Mario Maker to Super Mario Maker 2, like they really just took Super Mario Maker and they biggened it.
Are you referencing a certain phraseology that we heard?
Yeah, okay, so before we talk about anything else of substance, can we address that they use the word biggin? Okay, and I looked this up. I was like, this is insane. This can't actually be a word. Lo and behold, it actually is a word, but also nobody uses it. Like, nobody uses it. It says, like, British, like, dialectical British, right? So, like, maybe some people in Britain somewhere use, like, this often, but I don't know what, like, Nintendo was on where they're like, yeah, that's, like, that's the best word. That's the best word to say that we're going to make this Goomba get big. We're going to biggin it.
Why didn't they use the word super? Like, when Mario takes a super mushroom, he becomes super. So
like
why wouldn't...
Super Goomba?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So ultimately, and here's the thing. I think I was initially frustrated. And I am like what? But then after you kind of get over it, you're like, wait a minute. This is a perfect opportunity. Because now I'm aware of the word. And so now you're never going to stop hearing it.
This is the genesis.
This really, it's just giving me a bit. That's all it's done. I'd actually like to thank Nintendo because like we are going to use it to biggen our podcast.
I'm just thinking about it now, and I can just imagine this ending up in your everyday vocabulary for like maybe the rest of our lives. I don't know. I wasn't thinking of that implication until you brought it up.
Well,
so I guess
these are the important things that come out of these directs.
I guess it wouldn't be bad for me if I also play along. So if I also use the word biggin, it won't be as bad because it'll be part of my vocabulary.
But once it catches on outside of like our group and like this little thing, like people start to use it outside of that, then it's dead.
Yeah, it's going to be no more. We're still going to say it, but it will no longer hold any form of significance.
I don't know. I might just stop saying it. You can speak for yourself.
Okay, well, I just know that I usually latch on to a phrase and then I keep going with it. But we're here to talk about the stuff they actually had to tell us about Super Mario Maker 2.
Yeah, like how you can biggin Goombas.
Yes, that's a good segue. We started the Direct with a quick recap about how Super Mario Maker works. And I think they did that because Mario Maker came out on the Wii U, and maybe people aren't super aware of what's possible.
Okay, you're going to have to slow down because I don't know what the heck a Wii U is.
Case in point. So yeah, I think this was ideally to show people who haven't played Mario Maker what kinds of things are possible with the base toolkit. And keep in mind, when they were showing us stuff, they were really just showing stuff from the original Super Mario Maker.
Right.
And I was getting worried. I was like, this is a 15-minute Direct, and please tell me we're not going to spend 5 minutes telling me stuff that I knew from the first game in 2015. Thankfully, no. They get over it pretty quick.
This was like something for me, right? I didn't put a lot of time into Super Mario Maker, so I really needed a reminder on what the game was about, right? Because I looked at like Super Mario Maker 2, that's just that text, and I'm like, what is this game about? What does this game have in store? And then they were like, here's all the stuff. And I'm like, this is incredible. It's like you can build Mario levels.
Yeah, and then like after they quickly, went over everything that was in the original game, they started talking about new stuff. And for the most part, it's still stuff we were already aware of, but mostly in thanking Andre Seegers over at Game Explain for his hour-and-a-half long analysis of all the Mario Maker media up to that point, because he uncovered a lot of what we're about to talk about well before this Direct.
Right. And I do have a confession. It's been a minute since I've watched any of Game Explain's analyses Like, it just hasn't been here. But I'm like also not surprised because, like, again, like some of the stuff seems like pretty self-explanatory as long as you see something that's interacting with it. But it was nice that they kind of just gave this rapid fire. What kind of rapid fire?
I would say it's pretty rapid fire. I remember we were talking in the Discord. Well, at least I was talking to like Santi and some of the other guys. But when they were going, I was like, "This is blazing fast. They're going so quickly through things. I don't even have time to like process new items that they're showing us." And we'll just start naming some of the things off that they talked about in this section. This is one we already knew about, being slopes. They talked about how slopes come in two varieties. I guess there's just the basic slope angle, and then there's a gentler slope angle. So there's a little bit of variety in that, and that's cool. I think the next one is going to hit home for a lot more people, especially if you're a fan of Super Mario Brothers 3. The Angry Sun. Honestly, that's like a feature I think was like largely missing from the original Super Mario Maker. Because Super Mario Brothers 3, like the Angry Sun, despite being in only 1 or 2 levels that I can recall, is like a staple of that game. Everybody remembers the Angry Sun level.
Yeah. I thought it was really neat. I wasn't anticipating something like of that caliber, but I mean, they gave us custom scrolling, you know, and they showed that right off in that initial, you know, trailer. Just some of the features that were present, but like, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I also didn't expect them to kind of use it like they did and kind of give you like a previously non-existent counterpart, which, you know, also affects the game in different ways, and we'll get to that. But yeah, this game was really feeling like, oh, this is a sequel. This
Definitely,
is like really a sequel.
And if we're thinking of like the Angry Sun as a staple feature of Super Mario Brothers 3, once again, despite being in only a couple levels, we can say the same thing about the snake block in Super Mario World. If I recall, that is the game that the snake block was introduced in. And basically, you draw a path using the grid on the screen or the analog stick or whatever, and the snake block will follow that path. It does come in 2 different speeds. The green one is the slow one, and you can change it to a blue one, which is much faster. I think this is cool to have. Yeah,
incredibly appropriate that they would make the fast one the blue one, too.
Oh.
An obvious and blatant reference to Sonic the Hedgehog. We see you, Nintendo.
The Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's one of my wonderful mispronunciations. That is now becoming canon. If you say it any differently, I will, I don't know, have you disposed of. Not killed. That's me.
Please don't hurt me. You are pretty far away, so I don't think I have to worry, at least for a couple days, especially if you're traveling on foot.
Yeah, if I'm traveling on foot, no, I'll never make it. Probably just die.
Well, I win in that case.
But that being said, I actually might stand a higher chance of dying, you know, actually driving, because it tends to be more dangerous.
That sounds like a conversation for another podcast we haven't launched yet. Not to say we're working on something like that, but, you know.
Well, it's like, who doesn't have a million podcast ideas? Is that just me? Oh, no, we need a podcast on this. Okay, like, once Super Mario Maker 2 comes out, you know, welcome to the Super Mario Maker 2 podcast, you know?
Yeah, we'll just rebrand our whole podcast. No, we'll make a new podcast dedicated to it.
No, yeah, we'll just make more podcasts. You know, by the end of it, we will just be a podcasting network.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll be our own network. Lots of income. The on and off switch is also coming to Super Mario Maker 2. This is also an item that comes from Super Mario World, but its functionality is far beyond what it was in that game. So you can, in Super Mario World, when you hit an on-off switch, it would typically change the railing on a moving platform track to like another route. And you can do that in Super Mario Maker 2, but you can also like turn conveyor belts on and off, I think, or maybe change directions. They used one of those as an example. You can also turn off red and blue blocks. So like if you hit the on switch to off, I think the blue blocks turn on, and if you hit it again,
so it's like color coordinated too.
Yeah,
so it makes it really easy.
And that actually comes from Super Mario Brothers Deluxe on the Game Boy Color, which had a mode where you raced against a Boo. And this feature that specific feature, the on-off switch, is directly pulled from that, which is great because it ties really well into another feature we'll talk about a little later on in the show that I'm very excited about. Multiplayer. They also showed us the seesaw, which tilts left and right under Mario's weight. I don't think that has any like specific correlation to any Mario game, but they did add it.
No,
which is cool.
the amount of things that they just kind of threw in here, and they did this with the original Super Mario Maker too, if I'm not mistaken. They just, hey, here's some like experiments that never made it into any games, or we just made up because like we seemed like it maybe that would be fun, and we prototyped it, and we're like, this is a game all about creation, so let's find, if we can find any creative use for this, so can other people, and just throwing things in there, like right after the seesaw, like they were like the swinging claw. Is the swinging claw from any Mario game?
There's only one game I can think of, and that's Super Mario Land 2. Super Mario Land 2 had a stage where Mario could jump up and he would get clawed in the head by a claw machine and then like dragged across big gaps. It was basically a transportation tool, which is what it does here. But I don't think.
Well, but it swings.
The
you
swinging
have a little bit
part.
Control. There's user input there.
So yeah, the swinging mechanic is completely original to this. But that's the only like place in Mario canon I can even think of that it's appeared before.
Mm-hmm.
Which could mean that maybe Super Mario Land 2 could be an additional game style, or it just means that it's something they thought of and they're like, hey, let's just throw it back in here because why not?
Yeah.
That's where I'm leaning,
I feel like Super Mario Bros. 2 would come in the form of obviously a Doki Doki Panic reskin of sorts. But then that might be a different game style if that comes. I didn't even consider, some of the other stuff that,
there's
threw in
precedent
here.
for that later on when we start talking about 3D World. They also showed us the forest theme, which has the ability to have raising and dropping water levels, which is really cool. So basically, it's just a forest theme, but the thing that makes it unique is the fact that you can have this water mechanic on it. I will say I would have preferred if this water mechanic was just something you could apply to all game themes, but if it's limited to just this one style, it does make it more unique, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, there's a few things where they do that, like where like part of the choice is like literally like what theme you're going with, and that directly, plays into what kind of gameplay you're looking to do, which I think is okay,
Yeah, they showed us that you could also change it to lava, and you can change the speed at which the water or lava will raise and lower, and I think it was set to 3 presets, but still pretty cool. They went into custom scrolling. We talked about that. They have vertical sub areas, and this is really cool. So this isn't something you can do on the main, like your first main layout on your stage, but rather like if you bring Mario into a warp pipe and it takes you to a sub area, you can make a sub area specifically vertically scrolling, and that's super cool because I think
Oh,
go ahead.
I really do. I think just having like more areas in which like obviously like just dividing up levels, and so having a variety even of like what does that look like instead of just going underground or just going to a different scrolling section, having the option to do those vertical platforming, which like it's vertical platform, and that's a whole set of things that you could do a little bit of in Mario Maker, but not to such a degree that it
in Mario Maker 1, and I believe Andre proved that it's true in this game as well, you can only create a stage up to 2 screens high, so I imagine these vertical sub areas will go beyond that limit. I don't know how much, but hopefully enough to make it worth adding it as a feature.
Right. It also makes a question of like how wide can they be? Can they be a little bit wider than like a screen so you can go a little bit back and forth, or is it just that vertical screen and then it just goes up?
It'd be cool like if you could do 2 screens left and right just to kind of match the 2 screens up and down on the horizontal stages. But if it's only 1 screen, I think that's plenty for a vertical section because you're mostly going just straight up and down anyway.
Well, and that also being said, which this ties into the next thing they talked about, scroll stopping. You could combine those two by just like literally having a box. where you're not scrolling to the left or the right if you are in those vertical sub areas.
Yeah, that's true. And this scroll stop thing, it actually took me a couple times going through and watching this part to actually understand what this thing is doing. But essentially, if you draw a full like brick wall that is perpendicular to the direction your stage is scrolling in, it'll prevent the camera from bleeding into that area when Mario gets close to it, so that you can block it from view and basically make secret areas Mario can access that you can't see before getting there. And I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely forward thinking, and it solves a problem from the first Super Mario Maker, where if you wanted to do something like that, you had to make walls that were super thick, like 10 blocks left and right thick, just so that the camera would not go over that far in that direction. So this actually solves a really important problem, and I'm glad that they're taking the steps to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's almost like the developers like know what's up.
It's yeah, we look back at that first Super Mario Maker 2 reveal, and the very first thing they do is show us, hey, there's slopes in the game now. And that's like the biggest thing that the community was talking about in that first game. So it's cool to see that they're listening, and paying attention to what the community's doing. And it's great because this is such a community-driven game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you have a game that's like literally all you do is like the center is create, like you have to be able to share that, because if you don't, like, that's a dead game.
Yeah. Next up, they showed us the Bonsai Bill. So basically, this comes from Super Mario World. It just goes all the way across the screen. There's no Bonsai Bill blaster. It's literally just a big bullet bill you put on the screen, and when you get to that point in the stage, it fires in one of 4 cardinal directions. You can customize that to your liking. And if you use its alternate version, it'll become a red Bonsai Bill, which has the ability to home in on Mario. Whoa, excuse me.
No.
I think they showed an example of like 10 Bonsai Bills homing at once.
Okay, like I've watched quite a bit of like Mario Maker levels. My roommate watches Carl Sagan 2442 or something like that. Shout out to him because he plays a lot of levels. And forgive my language, but like it's already hell.
Yeah.
So, like this is just more on top of that chaos, And like there's a part of me that's like, I'm glad the option's there, but also I'm scared. And Nintendo knows exactly what kind of sadistic
They're prepared for the chaos that's coming.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Nintendo. You've given me more Mario Maker nightmare fuel.
So they also showed us the Dry Bones shell, which is a new kind of pseudo power-up for Mario. He doesn't wear it on his head like a spike helmet. He
hops around in it.
Yeah, he hops around in it like a Goomba shoe. And the cool thing is that it lets Mario wade in lava. So he can hop in the Dry Bone shell and then jump in lava, and he'll actually float in it.
Yeah, this one was really creative. I think this one might be one of my favorite like additions, just because it's like, okay, where did this come from? Other than the fact you're like, well, you can't stand on top of lava. So like, what if we allowed that to happen? That's just like another option. And then in addition, you just get those Mario in a Goomba shell, and then the secondary ability of being able to like collapse yourself, and avoid damage.
Yeah, that was a unexpected additional feature for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like the way that they're taking classic Mario elements and, spinning them on their heads, literally in this case.
Yeah.
Super cool. This is kind of a smaller one, no pun intended, but they showed us big coins, which is basically just a large number of coins as a single coin. So like 10s, 20s, 30s.
Actually, it's a play on Bitcoins. This is actually Nintendo wanting to get into the cryptocurrency market. So
and you
everybody
mine them,
watch out because Bitcoins are coming.
You mine them by playing Mario Maker. It all comes together. They showed us, or rather they played some new sound effects for us. It was just kind of a sure thing that there'd be new sound effects in this game. And it works exactly the same way as it did in the first game.
I hope that one of these sound effects is a replacement for the sound of the switches. Because if I can't replace it with the very iconic Switch sound at this point, I will be very disappointed, especially because the colors of the Switches in the games are red and blue anyway. Like Nintendo, like it's right there. If you don't do it, I think I might leave Nintendo.
They always
this might be the final draw.
They always apply like a secondary animation with these sound effects. I want it to be Koizumi snapping his fingers.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can apply that to enemies, to spaces on the screen, to objects. So if the Switch sound is in there, you'll be able to do exactly what you're asking for.
It better be. What an oversight that would be.
The next thing I'm really torn on this one, and that's co-op making, which was one of my number one requested features for this game. Unfortunately,
are you torn because it doesn't seem to be online?
It's not online, and you have to do it on a single system on the same screen locally.
Yes.
And that's
so you can't do it if you're on two different Switches. Because if you could already do that, then why wouldn't it be online?
I mean, if that feature is in there, they just haven't told us, but it sounds to me like that's just not on the docket. Yeah,
it sounds like it's lacking.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's lacking. It's just not there, which not that it couldn't be later, but also like this is already so jam-packed with content. Did you not have like 5 extra minutes? Throw it to the intern. Hey man, we need to like fix this online stuff that we obviously can't do. I don't like why.
For all we know, there's some kind of limitation that maybe they couldn't get through, but I mean, just from first glance, it looks like it would be easier to implement something like this than just the full-on 4-player multiplayer that we actually ended up with.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that a little bit later. Yeah, but I'm a little disappointed with this. I don't see myself using this feature in its current state.
Yeah.
The next one, however, really blows the door open.
Clear conditions. This is so good. Clear conditions. Oh my gosh. You can just the fact that they would be like, yeah, you don't just have to get to the end of the level. You could kill X amount of enemies of a particular type of enemy. You know, you can get a certain amount of coins.
That actually makes coins useful in this game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my phone.
Break room arcade. Break room arcade. We're on a break. Now we're back.
And we're back. Yeah, and I think they also mentioned that one of them could be clearing a stage as Super Mario, which in turn would mean, hey, don't take any damage.
Right, yeah.
So I wonder, like, just how many options there are. When they were scrolling through it in the video, it looked like there was a lot of stuff in there. So, I think this is going to be the biggest new addition just to basic level creating.
I'm so down for it. I really am. Like, wow. Can you believe like we're getting this kind of treatment? That Nintendo's like, you know, guys, you guys over there at the Break Room Arcade are working really, really hard, and we know you're stressed, and we know that you're not earning as much money as you'd like. But hey, we'll do you a solid, and we'll make sure there's a ton of options. And Super Mario Maker too. So the shout out to Nintendo for really taking care of the man, you know, the man inside of you and the man inside of me.
Thank you for that. I think there's an additional component to this that makes this feature even better. I think the other component is the reason this feature exists, and that was the 4-player multiplayer. So like think of co-op level design and how they can utilize these features in order to make co-op a necessary component to a stage.
Hey guys, there's coin battle.
Yeah, or maybe you actually need that many people to take on 3 Bowsers at the same time and make that your clear condition.
15. Why stop at 3?
Well, 3 was the limit in Super Mario Maker for Bowsers.
Oh, but no, this is
Super Mario Maker 2.
Game. Maybe there's twice as many.
So 6 Bowsers?
6. Super Mario Maker times 2. It's just literally Super Mario Maker, except we send you 2 copies of the game.
Ooh. So yeah, clear conditions I think are going to be a big thing for this game. And then they just started sounding off on things real quick here, so I'm just going to do the same thing. They showed us Twisters, which is brand new for this game. I think it appears once in Super Mario Bros. 3, and that might be it for the entire series.
Yeah, no, it's like that one stage hazard on Hyrule Castle in Smash Bros.
Right, but it doesn't trap you. It just kind of lifts you up.
Same thing.
There's icicles, which I didn't get a good look at these, but I assume they fall down when you walk under them.
When you walk under them, they fall down.
Okay, pretty straightforward. Conveyor belts can also be on slopes now, or be made diagonally, which is new.
Mm-hmm.
There's parachutes, which make enemies descend at a slow speed. And
you can put them on anything.
Yeah, they used to be on Bob-ombs, but now you can put them on Bowser if you want. And Boom Boom. This is a cool one. So Boom Boom, being the fortress bosses from Super Mario Bros. 3, is now in here as an additional boss, which is great, because in Super Mario Maker 1, we just had Bowser and Bowser Jr., and then you could, like, you could jerry-rig some bosses together using the tool set, but it's nice to have some actual bosses just built in addition to that.
Yeah, I agree.
And the next thing I did not ever see coming. I thought that it might be more expanded from the first game, but they just dropped story mode on us, which I think is super cool.
I lost it. Like, this was one of the things, obviously, like, to some degree we were hoping for. Like, Nintendo, do a little bit with it. Like, give us a presentation. And the presentation was like, oh. Like, this feels like the natural progression of 2D Mario.
Yeah.
Like, this is what 2D Mario has become. Like, I don't think we're getting a Super Mario Bros. Like, it's Super Mario Maker from here on out. Now, I'm not saying that they won't come out with that, but, like, you might as well just release another, like, pack with a different story, some animations and hey, there's a new story. You just also have to buy Mario Maker.
And they technically did that with Super Mario Maker for 3DS. That version had a lot more Nintendo made stages for that game, because you couldn't post your stages online, so they needed to buff it out a little bit. But this, I don't want to talk this up a whole lot. I do want to say that this is essentially a dressed up version of what we had in the first Super Mario Maker, which was a lot of developer made stages that you played in. I think it was called the 10 Mario Challenge, where you had 10 lives and you had to beat X amount of stages on easy, normal, or hard. This is mission-based, so you'll have characters who give you quests, which are just courses that are ranked by difficulty, and they award you coins for winning them, and you use those coins to pay the Toad and Toadette in order to build Peach's castle back up, because it's been destroyed for some reason.
Yeah.
And those little extra elements, which is not a lot on its own, just like you said, add a ton to the presentation and make it feel more involved.
Yes.
And I'm so down for that.
Yeah, no, this is great. Like, it's great for, like, the fact that I love the idea, like, you feel like this sense of progression outside of just being able to accomplish and beat all the levels. You're actually building towards something. It looks relatively nonlinear as well. Like, you get through, like, the first batch, and then you build that first part, and then it opens up, and all of a sudden there's a few Toads out there. There's other characters outside of that screen.
Like the Undo Dog.
Yeah, just, like, all these different characters that exist, and I'm like, wow, like, they're really kind of expanding on this lore in some funny ways of, like, what Mushroom Kingdom is.
Mario's actually wearing his outfit.
Yeah, the fact that you're earning these coins and investing in this infrastructure is good for the Mushroom Kingdom economy. We always want to encourage good commerce and a healthy economy. So, like, Nintendo's really, like, killing it. They're putting Mario in a good position to, the bit's done.
Mario's giving back to the community. So I have a couple theories about this, and they may have mentioned it in the Direct. I've watched it like 3 times, and I didn't catch this, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm assuming that playing through the story mode is how you will unlock builder parts in this game. Because it was kind of funky in the original Super Mario Maker, where basically you had to play for X amount of minutes on a day, and then the next day you would receive a package with new assets. Which they quickly updated and changed it so that you would just unlock them every 5 minutes of play, which is just super dumb. I hope that's how it works in this game, is that you play story mode.
There is something to be said about, like, a creative unlock, like, system, right? And this is one of my gripes with, stuff like, oh, we want it to be accessible, right? And there's always a balance. So just every 5 minutes, that's boring. Having us either pay for the unlocks, that's also boring,
I mean, do you know what I did
but,
when I got the game? I just played
What?
for 5 minutes and then changed my system clock to the next day over and over again until I unlocked everything.
Yeah, like you don't want to encourage that. Like,
Yeah.
so having it like, okay, maybe it's tied to the actual levels. I'm cool with that. And maybe there are
Especially
some
if those levels involve the pieces that you will then unlock after the fact.
Yeah, because they're teaching you, like, this is how they're used. This is how you could potentially use them and educating people as you go along. So I think this is a great way. It's a creative way. I'm always advocating for, like, just make it more fun. And if you can make it more fun by, like, arbitrarily, like, saying, like, you could just have all the pieces right off the bat. But like, why would we do that when we could do it a more creative way? And in this sense, like a more constructive way, like quite literally, like we will teach you how to use these and how we would use us pros designing these levels. And then you get to take that knowledge and you get to go with it.
And they've
That's
effectively made it possible to, this with air quotes, to beat Super Mario Maker 2. Like there's a single player goal in there that you can strive to achieve, which was largely missing from the original Super Mario Maker. They had the Nintendo design courses, but there was no real structure tied to the whole thing, so it didn't feel very rewarding. That said, you did unlock something if you did beat them all. But in this version, it's just more structured. You see the progression when the castle starts getting built up. I think this is just far and away much better than the way they did it the first time.
Yeah.
So like I said before, it's an assumption that you unlock stuff for the creation tools by playing this mode. If not, that's what I would like to see. Then they started talking about the new themes. There's 4 brand new themes coming to Super Mario Maker 2. We have the desert, snow, the forest, which we talked about earlier with the water raising, and the sky, which is different from airships. Sky will have like clouds and rainbows and vines. But the airship obviously, was an airship. So this is
how
cool.
many themes are we at now?
The original game had ground, underground, water, ghost house, and airship and castle. So 6. So this brings it to 10.
Wow.
And then if you add in the 5 game styles, that's 50 potential backgrounds for your levels. And if you bring the moon into that, we just brought that to 100.
Yeah. So this is like Nintendo pulling a like things they've been doing for a while now, like with Breath of the Wild. Like this is like Mario's version of multiplicative gameplay.
Mm-hmm. That's not a term.
Not
I've
that
heard
it
in a
didn't
while.
exist previously, but just using all those things and then we're gonna just make sure everything intersects and multiplies, and then it's like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, this is the Sakurai approach. They also mentioned, and I thought this was super cool, is that, like in the case of Super Mario Bros. 1, a lot of those themes didn't exist and didn't have accompanying tracks. So there was new music tracks composed by Koji Kondo, and that's pretty awesome.
Who's Koji Kondo?
Koji Kondo is the composer of Super Mario Bros.
Brandon, stop.
The Legend of Zelda.
I already know. I was messing with you.
No, I saw through you, but you asked me the question, I'm going to answer it.
Don't be modest. I know I fooled you. I fooled you. You were like, I can't believe Logan doesn't know who Koji Kondo is. He's the music guy of the Break Room Arcade, and he doesn't know who Koji Kondo is.
Doesn't know how to say Koji Kondo either.
Koji Kondo.
Kondo.
Koji Kondo. Kondo.
Definitely heard something fall in my house. Okay, it was my phone.
I wouldn't worry about it. It's probably Mario.
Yes, that's him. So the moon.
Baby Mario, little Mario. You can't see him.
So you don't have this feature right away, but when you get the angry sun, if you put it in your stage and then change it to its alternate form, it'll turn into the moon. And it behaves the same way as the angry sun. It'll like dive at you. But if you collect it, it screen wipes the enemies. But it has an added effect of changing daytime stages to nighttime stages. And they really opened up the game a lot with this one. I was not expecting this to do quite what it does. And basically, like when you put this on a game theme or like a stage theme, it changes some of the attributes to the stage itself. Like on the ground theme, at night, Goombas float for some reason.
Goombas float. They can, yeah, like it looked like they were kind of like swimming through the air.
Yeah, it was like a
like
lack of gravity,
Goomba
but it
fish.
only affected Goombas for some reason.
Yeah, man.
And
Good change.
They didn't tell us.
That's the kind of innovative gameplay that we need.
They weren't telling us everything, but this was certainly interesting. Underground becomes upside down, so it's upside down platforming. That's pretty cool.
Okay, now the question is it reverse control? So like if I am pressing right, am I gonna go left?
That's the question right there. I don't know.
Or am I pressing right? Am I still gonna go right? I'm just gonna be jumping.
That's my assumption.
Yeah. It'd be really confusing. Maybe throw in the option.
The ghost house will have a dim light just around Mario, so you can't really see the stage. The sky theme will have gravity reduced, so it'll be like a low gravity kind of Mario Galaxy type thing. That's pretty neat. Deserts will have sandstorms that push Mario in one direction. Snow levels will just be extra slippery. And
is that the only change? Like they're already slippery, but they're gonna get more slippery?
Yeah, that's the change. Is it's just more slippery now.
And then you also have to play with Luigi.
Well, we'll talk about that later, but I don't think the other characters will have their own attributes.
Don't ever talk to me again.
The forest water will become poison, which basically just makes it lava. So I don't know how exciting that is. But they
it's
also
purple.
Yeah, it's
That's
purple.
what makes it exciting.
They did mention that items change, and I thought that was pretty neat. They showed a super mushroom becoming a rotten mushroom. Note, they did not call it a poison mushroom. So
Yeah.
I wonder if it hurts Mario or if it changes him in a way we aren't expecting yet.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, there's a ton they're keeping from us.
Yeah, I mean, like Super Mario Maker 1 had the skinny mushroom that you could unlock, and that would turn Mario into a tall, skinny version of himself, which was really creepy looking, but very funny. But who knows? And then they started talking about 3D World, and I have to give credit to the guys at Game Explain. They pretty much nailed this. The parts and tools that you're given for 3D World are not applicable to the other game styles. They only work in 3D World. So if you are working on a stage and you try to change it to 3D World after you've started developing it, it will give you a warning that it's going to erase everything you've done because they're not compatible. And this is an interesting thing because the whole idea behind Super Mario Maker 1 was that you could play with everything with anything. And they're kind of breaking the rules here a little bit. And I mean, honestly, if that's the case, like if we had to have this in order to get 3D World at all, that's fine.
Yeah, it also just like, it's a different context. And think of all those, those things that you can do in that context that you can't do in those other contexts. And it's like a different canvas for 2D Mario. And that's a beautiful, beautiful prospect,
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
It's a new way to play Mario. And why would you not want that?
Yeah, essentially, 3D World obviously was a game on the Wii U, and it took place in actual 3D space, but they've taken that idea and turned it into something completely brand new and applied it to 2D Mario. So you could almost consider this a brand new game style we've never had before.
It's about time.
Yeah, for sure. But that's the way I kind of see it in this case. And before we start talking about some of the things you can do in 3D World, I want to mention that they specifically labeled this an extra game style. And in the menu, the label says extra game styles with an S as in plural. And there was a big empty space right next to 3D World where they have not revealed a game style to us yet.
Super Mario Bros. 2.
And I mentioned that earlier. There's precedent for that because like 3D World has a bunch of exclusive things that only work in Super Mario 3D World, and that would make sense for Super Mario Bros. 2 and give them a way to implement it into the game. So like it set precedent for that. So like the veggie mechanic, the picking up enemies thing, that could all just be exclusive to Mario 2, and we just have a dedicated game style for that. I am all for something like that being in Mario Maker just as a staple. If we have like 3 or 4 of them like that.
Yeah, I'd love to reiterate that Nintendo would do all of this for the Break Room Arcade boys. Like I can't believe they're pulling through like this. I mean, I guess we have to give Super Mario Maker 2 preemptively a 10, just because they're pulling through for us.
I do want to ask you though, is Super Mario Brothers 2 what you think that additional game style will be?
I mean, that's certainly the safe bet.
Yeah.
Outside of that, who knows? Maybe we're getting Hotel Mario game style, you know? Like that's a real tempting prospect. You know, even screw it. Like let's just skip forward to Super Mario Maker 3, which is now Nintendo Maker. And it also includes the ability to edit and create game worlds and dungeons, you know, in a top-down Zelda style. But also you can just be Mario in that case. So I think they're really what I think the extra game mode styles are for like just entirely different like games. So like, could you imagine?
Stop getting my hopes up.
Mario Belmont, you know, with a whip, going to take down Bowser Acula. You know, I think that sounds really appealing to me.
While I would love that already exists in a fan format on the internet as Super Mario crossover.
Everything exists in a fan form,
but it's a game
internet.
You can play.
I think you're a liar.
If you follow me on Twitter at BabaBabs, link in the description for that, you will find that I have already suggested that the additional game style will be Super Mario 64. And I have a theory behind this. One, they've called back to it with Super Mario Odyssey, obviously, so it's kind of, you know, forward in everyone's minds right now. But also, think about what you're doing in the story mode. You are rebuilding Peach's Castle, the central hub of Super Mario 64. So once you
Do you think it's already in the game?
So when you build the castle, when you build Peach's Castle, you're rewarded with the Super Mario 64 extra game style.
You know, that sounds legit. I think that's what's going to happen. And then that's actually, so, and here's the catch. It's Super Mario Maker, but for Super Mario 64, you're actually just designing 3D levels.
Okay, I'm not going that far, but if that actually happens, I'd probably lose my mind.
Could you imagine a 3D level editor?
Oh my gosh.
How robust would that have to be? How robust could it be?
Who knows? That would be incredible. I don't think that's happening, but I do think Super Mario 64...
You heard it here first, folks.
Well, think about the things that could come with that. Like, you could add the wing cap, the metal cap, the invisible cap. Mario could have the triple jump. He could wall jump. Some of these things are in the new Super Mario Brothers style, but he'd also have the ability to punch, to long jump, to backflip, to side...
To catch bunnies!
To catch bunnies. Yeah, just that kind of stuff. But I want it to look like Super Mario 64 from a visual standpoint, just in HD. Like low poly, low textures, but, well, high definition.
Yeah. Just like that model behind you, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I want it to be kind of like the classic Mario 64 outfit from Super Mario Odyssey. I basically just want them to do that.
Okay.
And one other option, I think they could possibly put Super Mario Odyssey in there, because they could focus on the capture mechanic as the main hook of that whole game style.
Oh yeah.
And I could see that working really well in 2D.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing to add. That sounds just delightful.
But I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's probably just gonna be Super Mario Brothers 2. Though if they want to charge me $10, $15 to buy some new game styles in the future, I'm not opposed to that.
I think they've already reskinned, like, you know, in the first Super Mario that you can just like reskin the character. Why not just like reskin it as a different game, just as a Mario game?
That'd be wonderful. I mean, that's kind of how it works already in the first 4 game styles, obviously with a few changes here and there, but
yeah.
And they talked about some of the exclusive things to 3D World. I don't think we're going to get into that because if you've played 3D World, you kind of know what you're getting. Just very quickly, they have warp boxes, which teleport you to a different place, like a confined space where you might battle an enemy or do a short obstacle course. They have the blinking blocks, which are the ones that are timed to music, which is super cool. And that comes from Super Mario Galaxy, so that's kind of neat. We're getting some Galaxy-related stuff in here.
But it came back in 3D World.
Yeah. I think it was in 3D Land as well. The Piranha Creeper, which are the piranhas that are on, like, that have really long vines, and when you jump on them, they kind of retract a little bit. And then something that's kind of new is the Koopa Troopa car. So basically, there's a Koopa driving a car without a shell on for some reason. I still don't know why. And when you hit him and knock him off, you can drive the car.
You can drive the car!
I'm already, like, imagining the 4-player race stages that people are going to build around this car.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be so cool.
Wow. Incredible. Absolutely. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
And this one was a little strange to me. We have Boom Boom available in all the game styles, but Pom Pom, Boom Boom's sister, is only available in 3D World, which is a little interesting. She throws boomerangs, and she can clone herself. I don't know why this is exclusive to 3D World, but whatever. And they didn't show Boom Boom in 3D World, so do we only get Pom Pom?
Like, yeah, you guys get like an extra boss for each game style, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, and they didn't show Bowser Jr. in this one either. So I'm curious how that all works.
Well, I mean, Bowser Jr. also existed before, right? There was a lot they didn't talk about that existed before.
Right, like he's the alternate form of Bowser in the original Mario Maker, but they didn't show that they haven't shown that yet in the new game. I assume it's still in there.
Right. I mean, there might be other stuff that they add, you know, post launch.
Like all the Koopalings.
I mean, they've been doing this. Come again?
Like all the Koopalings?
Yeah. You just throw them in there, sprinkle them in there, sprinkle in a few other things that are like, oh, we didn't get quite around to this, but like this is good for long.
Yeah, and they did that with the first Mario Maker where they added the donut bouncy rings and the fire spitting Koopa Clown car post launch, as well as checkpoints, red coins, locked doors. They actually added a lot of cool stuff post launch for free.
Yeah, think about like DLC opportunities and like here's a new set of levels that feature like these new items that we're adding, you know.
I see Mario Maker 2 being a lot longer lasting of a game than the first one just for that reason. Like this is the one that they treat as a platform unlike the original game,
which was on a dying platform.
Yeah. And well, I guess we'll talk about a little bit of how uploading and sharing courses works. It works pretty much exactly how it did in your first Super Mario Maker, but they've added some new search features, which are really nice. You can tag your stages as an auto scroll, as a difficult level, as a versus stage. You can tag them so that people have an easier time finding what they're looking for. And I really like that feature, especially if it allows me to completely filter out Auto Mario stages from my stage list completely.
Yeah, tags are always a good idea. The fact that like Nintendo had enough foresight to say like maybe this is something we should implement for a game where you're gonna have like a ton of content and you want to be able to look for a specific thing.
My hope is that you can follow specific creators and search for stages by name as well.
I would assume that would be the case with their maker profile.
Right.
Like you if you can't follow people, then that would be like why have profiles at all.
They turned the whole maker profile thing into something a lot more fun than it could have been too. Like you have a me that you can pose and also dress up in things you unlock over time. That's super cool.
Honestly, I get like stupid excited about this kind of stuff.
Like
I like see
stuff.
like, oh my god, you can play dress up. Like I'm gonna put all this crap on my Mii's. And like I feel like
also they're using Mii's. Thank you.
Yes. Like Mii's, I feel like they really need a resurgence. You know, I've been really rooting for some of these games to come back. Like they had Wii Sports Club on the Wii U. Like just like give us all those classic Wii games that we can play with our, you know, our gosh darn Joy-Cons, man. Just give it to us. We want it. I want to play Wii Bowling.
I think Mii's might even show up as playable characters in this game as well. because they are in New Super Mario Brothers U. You can just play as your Mii instead of, Mario or the rest of the gang.
What do they look like pixelated, though?
That'd be a good question. Maybe they only work in 3D World and Mario U. But that remains to be seen. But basically, the Maker profile works fairly similar to the way it did in the first Mario Maker, where you can upvote people's courses, and that gives them medals over time. It increases their rank. You can also see your rank for versus multiplayer. You'll have a rank for that also on your Maker profile. So they've customized it enough that you can see the things that really matter. So hopefully you can follow the creators you want to follow. Your friends hopefully show up in a friends list somewhere. They didn't touch on that kind of stuff, but we're so close to launch. I imagine we're probably just going to find out when the game comes out.
And at that point, they've sold it, right? Like, if you're not in at this point,
you're probably not going to buy
be
it.
Yeah, like, are you gonna they added a new item? That's the one singular item I was waiting for that I didn't even know existed until now. But obviously, I imagine maybe there's one person like that, but it's not any significant amount of the base that's going to be buying.
Yeah. Some other online type stuff they talked about. This is new. It's called Endless Challenge, and it comes in different difficulty levels, each resulting in a ranking once you've completed it. Basically, it's beat as many levels in a row as you possibly can before you run out of lives, and then you get a ranking for that. It's cool because it's just nice to have some kind of competitive aspect in Super Mario Maker to keep people going. This will be great for streams. I can see a lot of streams just dedicated to how many stages a streamer could beat in a row before they get bopped.
Oh yeah, it'll be fun to see how people achieve.
And there are already streamers who do that. Obviously they don't have a functionality in game for it, but there are streamers who do that for Super Mario Maker, including I Ate Your Pie on Twitch. So it's kind of cool, and I don't know if Nintendo just acknowledged that and decided to just build in something for it.
I feel like Nintendo's pretty self-aware online, so they're probably at least maybe there's probably the developers are sitting there like, okay, now that we finished this game, like, I'm gonna go watch it online, and see what people are doing with it, and then really kind of drawing from that and how they shape the sequel. And that seems like that kind of lines up, though. That could not be the case, but it seems like it is.
And then regarding the next thing, I think this might be the single biggest new feature in all of Super Mario Maker, and it addresses a big issue with the original game, and that is that you could only play the game by yourself. You could play other people's stages, but you were mostly doing it alone. But now you can play with up to 3 other people at once, but not locally. You're playing online for the first time in a 2D Mario game, and I am beyond excited for this.
Yeah. This is what I needed, right? I play a lot of games online with my brothers, and so more options, and this seems like the way to go about it. Cause like, who doesn't love a lot of chaos in Mario? Cooperatively or competitively, and I've been dying for a 2D Mario game, and I didn't buy Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, and I think I just might forego that and just buy Super Mario Maker 2, especially with all that single player content as well. But in addition to that, online multiplayer, yeah, yes, please.
I know, they've been trying to push Nintendo Switch Online, but I gotta be honest, I didn't ever think they were going to make the multiplayer completely playable online. That's Nintendo doing more than I usually expect from them, and that's got me really excited.
Yeah, where was this for Super Mario Party?
Yeah.
You goons, Nintendo. I know you're pulling through for us now, but big misstep. You're gonna pay for that.
I can just already see myself playing a whole lot more Super Mario Maker 2 than I would have if it was just single player. Local or otherwise. I'm going to be playing a lot of this game now.
I don't know how much I'll play this, but definitely because there's online multiplayer, I will play more of it. I can certainly say that for sure.
And to talk a little bit about how it works, essentially you get paired up with random people, and then you get you get put into a random course, and you are assigned a random character. They've revealed Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Toadette, though it does sound like there are some additional characters in the game that they're hiding from us right now. There's a versus mode, and in the versus mode, the first person to reach the goal of the stage or complete the win condition and get to the goal wins the race. And what's cool about this is up to now, like multiplayer Super Mario Brothers games, you were all on the same screen and you were bound to each other. In this, since everyone has their own screen, you have complete freedom of movement. So like I could be, miles ahead in a sub area or something, and you could still be back in the first area, and that doesn't matter. I can just keep going. And that's really exciting to me because, being bound to a same screen is what's made multiplayer in Super Mario Brothers games up to now kind of limiting. So I think this is going to just break open a lot of opportunity in multiplayer course design. In versus cases and in co-op, because there's also a co-op mode where the condition to win is just someone needs to beat the stage and then everybody wins.
Yeah. It's nice to have both of those. Though I do like the idea of having some really sinister competitive like design of stages. Like imagine just having like a part where you get to the end of it, if you're the first one to the end of it and you hit the switch, something happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where just like chaos is unleashed and anybody behind it just has to deal with.
Please.
So I think getting some real like watching like just troll levels in general. Imagine competitive multiplayer troll levels. Like, yeah.
I can see this becoming a big awesome games done quick event where they have like a big Super Mario Maker 2 event where they had some professionals make some stages and then they all race in it together. I see a lot of potential for this.
It seems like this was kind of made in a lot of ways with streaming in mind,
Yeah. I mean, that's what carried the first game, and I'm glad Nintendo recognizes that, and, they're honing in on it more.
And then they got smart about their online fair use policy.
Yeah, they did. Just in time for this game.
Just in time.
Another cool thing is that if you have 4 players locally, they can locally connect to one Switch, which then connects to the internet, and it carries the other Switches on with them to play stages online. I have some questions here, and I've been seeing this question go around on the internet, and people aren't so sure that you're going to be able to play with your friends online. I know, I saw that look in your eyes, and I'm like, I know I don't want to think that way, but I'm starting to see what they're saying, because they never made any assertion that you can actually do that.
Could you imagine you have to go online to play locally with your...
Yeah, and imagine not being able to play online with your friends at all, like at a distance.
Oh, right.
That's my biggest worry.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that you could just do that and have it not affect your ranking or whatever.
It's like all of the options, like, oh yeah, like this intersects and like this should... No, wait, why is it not there?
We've seen this before with Splatoon, and I've just got that little bit of anxiety about it in my heart because of Splatoon.
It's like, Nintendo, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? I can't. We just can't. It's a Nintendoism. That's what it is.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case. I just want to go online, play Super Mario Maker with you, maybe some fans during a stream, and just have a good time. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah. They just these Nintendoisms that they do, they're like, hey, like let's take this thing that shouldn't be like a big deal and let's biggin it,
I had already forgotten about that, but you brought it back, and now I remember.
Brought it back, pulled it off.
So yeah, if you can play online with your friends, that's great. I will be doing a ton of that with Super Mario Maker 2. If you can't play online with your friends, I'm going to be honest, I don't know how much online multiplayer I will be doing. Like, being able to do it with my friends is the most important part of the whole thing for me.
I think it's really the basis for a gamer revolution. We're gonna bend Nintendo to our wills. Get what we want.
Nintendo,
As if
please.
gamers already don't do that enough.
So that kind of wrapped up the main part of the Nintendo Direct. They did have a few more things to talk about, such as their game voucher program for online Switch members. We'll talk about that more on the next episode of Nintendo Stuff, the main series Nintendo Stuff. But there is one other thing here that I do want to mention, and that being the Super Mario Maker 2 Invitational 2019 that'll be taking place on June 8th this year. On the same day as 2 other Nintendo tournaments. It's going to be a packed day of Nintendo tournaments. We've got the Splatoon 2 World Championship, the Super Smash Bros. World Championship, and then I guess it caps off with the Super Mario Maker 2 2019 Invitational. And I've got some theories about this. There's a reason I wanted to bring it up, and that's because A, we've been talking about some of the competitive features that they've built right into the game, and B, because there is a history of Nintendo revealing stuff on stage when it comes to Super Mario Brothers. If you remember The Wizard, I don't know if you've seen The Wizard, but that movie ends at the big tournament with the final challenge being Super Mario Brothers 3, a game at which point the West had not been introduced to yet. That was their introduction to Super Mario Brothers 3. And that's the way it was in the movie, too. Like, the people there had never played the game before, so the big challenge was going to be a new game, and they had to beat it. But they did that again at the Nintendo World Championships in 2015, I think, where the contestants' final challenge was to play Super Mario Maker, a game that had not been released yet. So my suggestion is that the final challenge of the Super Mario Maker 2 Invitational will be a stage or series of stages that is created in the one game style that they have not revealed to us yet. That's just what I assume is going to happen.
Okay, that was not where I thought you were going with this. Where I thought you were going is like, okay, and that's where they reveal F-Zero World. Because that's really the logical place to put it. But no, I think if it does exist and they feel like revealing it before the game comes out, that's where they should do it. Because that's where everybody who'd actually care about it would want to see it.
Yeah. So that's basically all I would say about the Invitational. Also, I think it's cool that they're doing an Invitational for Mario Maker now that they have all these competitive features. I think it'll just be fun to watch.
How many different events do they have going on? Do they have the Splatoon 2 thing?
It's the Splatoon 2 World Championship in the morning. In the afternoon is the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Championship. And then I believe at the end of the day is the Super Mario Maker 2 Invitational.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
I like how
Nintendo
Nintendo's kind of allowed like E3 to become something a little bit different.
You know, I've been saying all this time that Nintendo was, they hadn't revealed all their E3 plans, and then eventually they gave us the date and time of their E3 Direct, and something didn't feel right about that to me. I was like, there's got to be more than that. And then they announced the Invitational today, and I was like, there it is. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. So now E3 is like a week long.
Yeah. Some quick things to also mention. There is a bundle for Super Mario Maker 2 coming out for $70 that will include a full 12-month subscription to Nintendo Switch Online, which you will need to access a lot of the features in the game. But you get it at a $10 discount.
$10 discount. This is great because, also Nintendo needs another way to just sell the online, and then also subsidize it.
And if you do buy that, if you also have a Twitch Prime account or an Amazon Prime account, which gets you a Twitch Prime account, there is an offer right now for a free 12-month subscription of Nintendo Switch Online that you could stack on top of that. So you would basically have 2 years of Nintendo Switch Online. You spend $10 for it.
Right.
That's almost as cheap as we'll get it for over 2 years doing it with the 8-person family memberships. We're still getting it $2 cheaper.
There's still cheaper ways to do it, but if you don't have a family, I'm sorry, and two, you're just not going to be able to get it as cheap.
So overall, Logan, I don't know about you, but I had my expectations completely blown away from this Direct.
Yeah, I wasn't. I thought the first game was really novel, and I thought there was a lot of things going for it. And even if I owned a Wii U, I'm not sure I would have bought it. But they definitely sold me on this. And even more so, like, it feels like something I actually want, especially with that voucher program, pay the $100 as opposed to the 60. And you get, 2 vouchers for 2 fully priced games. So that could be Super Mario Maker 2 and Splatoon 2. It could be Super Mario Maker 2 and Animal Crossing. How long do they have an expiration date, and they explain that as well.
I think it's a year after the purchase date.
Yeah, I think sounds right. So I mean, I'll probably just do that, right? Just pay the $100, save,
I
$20
do want
overall.
to pose a warning to folks who are considering doing this. They have a list of games that qualify for this program available on their website. And Super Mario Maker 2 is the only unreleased game on that list. Everything else is from the back catalog, and they haven't said whether or not they will be adding games to that over time. So that's just a warning. You can only buy this through, I think, mid-July, and then the promotion goes away. So I would suggest waiting for some clarification before you go ahead and take the offer.
Unless you're just planning on buying more games anyway, right?
I mean, if there's a game on that list you want, sure, go ahead and do it. But if you wanted to buy Fire Emblem 3 Houses, you probably won't be able to do that.
There's no guarantees that one will be also on the service.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's more than likely a second game like that personally I'll be able to buy. And if not, I have a year to make that decision.
What's funny to me is that there are games listed on that list that don't cost $60. And I'm like, but that ruins the point of the discount.
Nintendo?
Yeah, we'll talk more about that on Nintendo stuff at the end of the week. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for Super Mario Maker 2 Direct. We've pretty much talked about everything. I'm incredibly excited for this game. It'll be a day one purchase for me, and hopefully we can do some cool stuff with you guys. Maybe some streams and some video ideas we can throw together for that. But with all that in mind, guys, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Babababs. Follow Login. Follow
Login. That's cool too. You want to call me Log? You want to call me Login? I'm down. I'm just cool with nicknames, I guess.
Follow him at LoggyDoves on Twitter. You can follow us as a collective at Break Room Arcade and do all that other fancy stuff. We got plenty of links in the description if you want to help us out. Support our Patreon. We'd really appreciate it. But for that, I think for now, we're pretty much done. So don't break your backs, breaking the games. But for now, break time's over.